sit over here and watch it and see what you.
So Phyllis, what we'll try to talk about is people who we think would appreciate the event, and especially the folks coming with a group of people.
Okay,
So we'll just kind
all right.
of talk to each other like we're,
Okay.
we're
Are we in
like
a
there's
planning
there's
session
not a
or-
camera. Right?
Okay.
No, we're in a little promotional.
We're not,
session.
yeah, I know what the
Yes.
bullseye is, but what's the stated?
So I'll ask you about who you think would do well to be part of this event.
Can you
Oh,
scoot in
please.
just a little bit closer, Doug? Just 4 or 5 inches would be better.
Is that okay?
That's good.
How's that?
Okay.
Good, I was just getting hype ahead.
So I'll say, who do you think the event's coming? We're here in Memphis, working out the details, and who do you foresee being?
Well, I think obviously many of the leaders and more prominent, visible folk within the emergent movement are coming, but I think the ones that will really enjoy it and add to it and enrich it, it's, unless I'm wrong, the first time for that from grassroots and from the cohorts all over the country, we're coming together to actually talk about this thing in terms of its context and its where it fits sociologically as well as theologically, where it fits politically as well as theologically. This is a major time of shift in the church. So while I'm delighted to see folks like you, whom I've known for a while, I think the real energy here is going to be the practitioners, those who are beginning to build the communities, those who are doing the gatherings, those who are in the cohorts. As they begin to share and cross-fertilize across the country, from around the country, what they're doing and what they're seeing, put in the context of the overarching ideas that are involved here. Whatever, I don't want to inflate the thing, but whatever we're building, if history is right, and history is almost always right, it's going to have to last for 500 years. But it's the first time we've known that we were going, the first time that we've gone through one of these things, when we've known that we were going through one, and when we could talk to each other, and when we could get at each other. It's so that's wonderful because it gives us a certain freedom to understand what we're doing. It also bears a real responsibility, and that is responsibility to build carefully and to build intelligently. And there's you can do a great deal on the net. Obviously, you can stay in communication, but every once in a while there comes a time when you really need, I think, to join in common worship, in adoration, and also in conversation, face to face. In order to enrich those internet exchanges that are going to have to sustain us for the next however long before we have another such conference. So my hope would be that the hyphenateds, the Anglo-emergent, Preso-emergent, Better-emergent, who are coming in ahead of time, would also enrich that, as well as the theological component, theologians coming in. But it's almost, again, I don't want to inflate, but it's almost like a council of the church in the ways that there's always been a major council of the church when one of these things has happened. And this is so close that I suspect that may be what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Now, when I've shared it with the people at Solomon's Porch, your book, and the idea of this conference, people who don't do this professionally, just regular people who are all part of the Emergence, though, have just responded with such interest in being at the event.
Yes.
Do you think this is going to be a good event for people who are, non-professionals?
But isn't that what, yes, I mean, that's what the church is, right?
Yeah.
Those of us who run around as professional religions should probably all be hung up at night by our thumbs and, waked up the next morning. But it's the people who are the church, who I hope are going to be the ones coming here and energizing each other. But the church also has to stop and pray together and worship together and learn together and converse. So those two are also going to be a part of this, I think. But absolutely, I think this is for those of us who are just us and who are the kingdom on earth. Yes.
Great.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah. No, I just think it would be a shame if it ended up being the highly visible folk.
Oh.
There's nothing wrong with those of us who are visible,
No.
but we're not going to pull the load.
No.
I mean, we really.
That's obvious.
Yeah, I mean,
We've demonstrated anything, we've demonstrated
We've
that.
demonstrated that. And so the business of, I can bring to the table a certain amount of information, you can bring to the table a certain amount of information, and we can lay it out there, but we can't both lay it out there and eat it. It's, you know, it's got to be, folk who are going to
Yeah.
actually incarnate what happens and make it work.
Yeah, I agree.
And this business of, you know, I say it to audiences, I sometimes think I'm overdoing it, but honest to goodness, we're doing this for the next 500 years.
Mhm.
We better worry about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think there's a place, I love the net, I'm on the net far too much every day. There's a place for incarnate worship.
Yeah.
There really is, and adoration. And that happens when a warm body's sitting next to you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's gonna be a great time.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Perfect. All right. Sam Tickle.
Yes.